So, you guys watch Scavengers Reign? It's an animated series on Max and also Netflix somehow. Last time I talked about a random animated streaming show, it was because there was just something about it that captivated and entertained me more than usual. What that something was, I still can't really pinpoint. Scavengers Reign, on the other hand, I know exactly why I loved this show so much. Like Hilda, I got the inspiration to make a video about this show a while after I watched it for the first time. Let me tell you, it was pretty freaking sweet, Lois, watching it again for this video after forgetting a lot of these really cool moments. So this show started as a short that aired on Adult Swim called Scavengers. It's got a lot of the same DNA as the show, only with slightly worse character design. So that's another thing it has in common with Hilda. This short was so good that it got an entire show based around the premise. And that show was called Scavengers Reign. So this show is about several survivors living on a strange alien planet after their spaceship got murked by a solar flare or something. We follow 3 different groups that all landed on this planet through escape pods. These different plots all happen simultaneously yet separately until the end of the series when all these stories come together right now. Over me. We see how they adapt and learn to overcome the obstacles taking form as the environment and wildlife of this strange planet, and maybe even learn the power of friendship. Now, I know what you're thinking, isn't this kind of the same premise as Subnautica or 65 starring Adam Driver?
Now keep driving, you black spear chucker piece of shit!
Yes, you would be right about that. Honestly, the premise is not all that unique or even that captivating, yet this premise is probably best executed by this show. And that's due to the simple fact that the alien environments and ecosystems are so cool and intricate and detailed and weird. Like, weird enough to actually be real. This is the reason why I wanted to make a video about this show. There was so much thought and care put into the creatures, the plants, the weather, and just about every little thing about this planet. So much screen time, especially in the earlier episodes, is dedicated to just showing us how this world works. And it's always so fascinating and so intentional. There was a Reddit AMA with the show's creators a while ago, and they described these scenes as Rube Goldberg mechanisms, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Isn't Reddit awesome, you guys? We here at Biggie Bobo Studios love Reddit.
Chris, imagine one of those running into your dick hole at Mach speed.
But this show isn't just scenes of people and or animals manipulating their environment to get food or whatever. The stories of all the main characters that the world surrounds are just as captivating. Like I said, there are 3 different plots going on at the same time. We start with Ursula and Sam.
Whatever you do not be related to William Afton.
They're the ones that were actually able to communicate to the ship called the Demeter that's still in orbit to perform a crash landing. And the entire show revolves around our characters making their way to the crash landed Demeter, waking up the crew that's still in cryosleep, and getting the heck out of there. So Ursula and Sam have a pretty typical linear story that differentiates from the other 2, mainly in that there's actually 2 people, whereas the other ones have a person and some other non-human thing. I really enjoyed the way their dynamic changed throughout the course of the show. Sam, being the ship's captain, can be pretty uptight and bossy, but ultimately knows that he needs Ursula in order to ground him and make sure he's making the right calls. Ursula starts out very confident and even shows signs of being fully capable without Sam's help, but by the end she realizes that she needs Sam as much as Sam needs her. The relationship was symbiotic, much like many of the ecological relationships they saw on their journey. One of these ecological relationships was so insane and disturbing that it had my jaw on the floor when Sam and Ursula encountered it. We see them traveling through a forest of strange looking trees. Not super concerning, they find themselves in strange forests pretty frequently throughout this show. But we see one of these tentacle things attached to one of the trees prick Sam in the arm undetected and collect his blood. Pretty nefarious, but what could really go wrong, right? The beginning of the next episode shows us what these weird trees do to reproduce. They grab the blood of creatures that walk by without them noticing, like what we saw to Sam. After the tree has collected the creature's DNA, it starts to clone it in one of these weird-looking egg sacs. At the same time as the creature migrates away from the rest of the trees, it starts to get sick until it falls over and dies. The clone then hatches from the egg sac, finds the original creature it cloned from, buries it, then explodes, killing any nearby creature, spreading its spores or something, and therefore letting more trees grow from the nutrients from the corpses of the creatures left behind. The Californian Valley oak tree grows flowers on its branches. When these flowers are pollinated, they'll eventually sprout into acorns. These acorns will then be eaten by many local creatures such as woodpeckers, scrub jays, and ground squirrels. When the acorns are eaten, not only does it nourish the population of birds and squirrels, it also carries the tree's seed within the acorn far away, allowing the tree population to spread along a larger area of land. The creature will then drop the seeds through bodily waste, essentially planting a new tree, maintaining the life cycle of the tree. Man, what a terrible and inefficient reproductive system. Earth could really learn a thing or two from Vesta. That's the name of the planet, in case you didn't know. Why in the world would this species of tree need to clone an entire other organism just to spread its spores or whatever? Why does it bury the creature it cloned from? How does an entire several hundred-pound organism grow in this very exposed egg sac in the span of like 1 day? Shut up, that's not the point. You're not listening to what I'm saying, and it's very disrespectful. It doesn't matter that these ecosystems don't make any logical sense to us because it's supposed to be an alien planet. And it succeeds in being horrifying and unfamiliar, yet believable enough to suspend your disbelief. I really like the egg sac trees, okay? And you can't take that away from me. So a creepy zombie clone of Sam eventually catches up to them while Sam is really sick from the egg sac tree tentacle. Ursula sets it on fire and they keep going, but there doesn't seem to be any way of preventing Sam from dying of egg sac tree tentacle disease. Sam is about to die when they randomly meet another human. She clearly has lived on this planet a really long time, so she's able to cure Sam of his infection by putting a little black jelly bean in his chest. But it turns out that was an evil black jelly bean that makes you a mind slave to a giant monster, so they get the heck out of there. Sam is cured of his disease, but now the evil black jelly bean is making him want to create a Reddit dungeon for a new giant monster, maybe? And he also has the insatiable urge to put evil black jelly beans in other creatures like Ursula. I'm not going to say what happens next because I want to avoid spoilers, but I'll just say that it may or may not involve Batman. The other storyline we follow is with Kamen. Kamen is one of the more interesting characters to talk about for me. We see him stuck in the escape pod, clearly on the verge of starving to death. His pod landed in this forest with these funny 5-head salamander things that are apparently called hollows. The hollow we follow for the entire show finds Kamen and, with its amazing psychic powers, breaks open the hatch and Kamen is free. Except not really, because now Kamen is going to be the Hollow's goon. Hollows not only have telekinesis, but also the ability to brainwash other creatures into getting food for them, in exchange for their own nourishment in the form of delicious black goop. Yum yum.
Kamen, it's 3 p.m. Time to eat your black goop.
Let's fucking go!
The Hollow uses this ability on Kamen, and it basically made Kamen think that it's this woman named Fiona. The relationship between Kamen and Fiona is really the most interesting part of this character for me. It's kind of complicated and would require that I explain a lot more stuff, and I don't really feel like doing that. So just know that Fiona is Kamen's kind of ex-wife that left him while they were on the Demeter because he's an angry, selfish, insecure soy boy who's the entire reason the Demeter blew up in the first place. I hope that cleared everything up for you. Kamen struggles to get food for the Hollow because he's a pathetic human in a world of telekinetic slave-owning salamanders. Eventually, Kamen gets the hang of it, throwing rocks and stuff at the wildlife like I do sometimes. We saw earlier a bigger Hollow take food away from the Hollow that's controlling Kamen. A pretty obvious display of the idea of survival of the fittest. But Kamen actually manages to kill that same Hollow and presents it to his master as if it was just any other creature. This was a pretty disturbing moment, and despite the lack of emotion from the Hollow's face, you can kind of feel a sense of hesitation and disgust at the idea of committing cannibalism. But then it realizes that this means that Kamen has eliminated the competition. Now the Hollow is free to indulge uncontested in its own domain. This strange creature that didn't seem to have any kind of admirable survival skills turned out to be the most effective killing machine in the whole ecosystem. Even though Kamen can't climb or fly and doesn't have any sharp claws or teeth and is generally pretty weak and also ginger, he ended up being this Hollow's ticket to unbothered dominance. We see the Hollow grow fat and lazy as Kamen just keeps feeding it bigger and bigger creatures until it's coerced into trying to kill a particularly ferocious beast. A beast that would very easily destroy him. At first, Kamen very understandably didn't want to engage with this thing, but the Hollow uses its telepathy to convince Kamen to do it. I think it was this moment when I really understood what the Hollow is doing in order to convince its little mind slaves to do their bidding. The Hollow uses past memories as like a reflection of what's happening now. We get to see exactly how and why the Demeter ended up like it did, when Kamen and Sam had a falling out before everything went down. The Hollow is using this memory to create a sort of allegory in Kamen's mind, comparing this giant insurmountable challenge with a giant insurmountable challenge from his past. So really, the Hollow isn't brainwashing Kamen into being its slave, it's pinpointing his weaknesses and using them to manipulate him into aligning his goals with that of the Hollows. I think this was such a cool way of not only showing us the events leading up to where we found these characters at the beginning of the show, but also creating this really interesting symbiotic relationship in this alien ecosystem, and also exploring this very flawed character on a deep and personal level. The show is so sick, you guys. Kamen is trapped in this cycle of reliving his past mistakes in order to satiate this beast's gluttony until another person wakes up from the cryosleep on the Demeter and meets up with Kamen. He made fun of the Hollow's forehead, so he twists his neck like the Scarecrow, and this is what snaps Kamen out of the Hollow's trance because he realizes that everything that's happened is his fault. Upon seeing that its little errand boy reached maximum ego death, the Hollow does the only logical thing and absorbs Kamen into his stomach to live as an embryo, kind of. I'll talk about what exactly I think this means in a bit, but let's move on to the last story. The last story we follow is with Ozzy and her trusty robot companion, Levi. Ozzy, without any way of reaching the orbiting Demeter, relies on trying to create a sustainable life on Vesta while sending out distress signals in hopes someone will find it. When she eventually sees that the Demeter has landed, she makes the trek towards it just like Sam and Ursula. The thing that the Ozzy plot focuses on is not Ozzy herself, but instead the robot Levi. Sometime after they crash landed, Levi's inner mechanisms started getting infected with alien fungal goop that supposedly is helping it with processing or whatever it is computers be doing these days. They have pretty typical alien wildlife encounters while Ozzy slowly starts to realize that the alien fungal goop is turning Levi sentient. We start to see Levi show signs of independent thought like curiosity, contemplation, artistic creation, and even things like dreams and physical sensation. It was interesting seeing how Ozzy reacted to these changes that were happening. She obviously was skeptical that the alien fungal goop was actually beneficial to Levi's internals, but once she realizes what's happening, she accepts the fact that her robot is essentially another person very quickly. But this was all just a sick game created by these hack showrunners because the Hollow, now with little baby Kamen living in its belly, catches up to Ozzy and Levi and... That's gore of my comfort character. After this happens and Ozzy is left completely alone because her sentient robot bestie just got telepathically exploded, her distress signal is heard by this group of rogue scavengers on one of Vesta's moons. They come down to find her and we learn all about their weird systems and mannerisms. The way they choose who leads each mission is by getting in a circle, intentionally hyperventilating, and the last one to pass out is the leader, as if having a brain that can endure being deprived of oxygen is a determining factor for who should lead an expedition on an alien planet. The one who did not pass out this time was Chris. Her companions are Terrence and Barry. They find Ozzy and agree to take her off the planet in their own ship in exchange for the remaining cargo left on the Demeter. I'm just gonna skip to the part where the Hollow blows up their ship and they leave Ozzy for dead because Chris wasn't gonna let her wake up the crew that's in cryosleep, effectively abandoning them to be devoured by savage creatures. Chris and Barry get to the ship with the intention of taking another spaceship that's inside the bigger spaceship, and Ursula shows up to rescue Ozzy. Ozzy and Ursula get there too and convince Barry to help get the passengers out of cryosleep. Chris leaves without Barry, and this whole crazy plot ends with a final confrontation between the Hollow versus Ozzy. And oh my gosh, guys, it's Levi! Levi has become one with planet Vesta and is reborn as a guardian of the wilderness and a protector of the delicate balance of nature or something like that. Levi also possesses a giant abstract space laser.
space lasers.
So now Kamen is freed from the Hollow's gut incubator, and now there's a baby Hollow, like how it was at the beginning of the show. So since Chris took the last means of getting off the planet, the remaining survivors of this whole ordeal now live here, and everything's hunky-dory. Alright, so what was the deal with Kamen living in the Hollow's belly like a little baby? It's pretty clear that we're supposed to see a unity between Kamen and the Hollow after this point, so why did it actively seek out Ozzy and Chris's ship and the Demeter? I think it's because after absorbing Kamen, he's now motivated by regret and anguish from what happened on the Demeter. Remember, the Hollow only absorbed Kamen once he came to terms that the love of his life, Fiona, not only left him, but was ultimately killed by Kamen's own selfish actions. So I think that they freak out when they see other humans or products of humanity like Chris's ship, because it reminds him of Fiona. Fiona was Kamen's motivation to serve the Hollow, and now that he's become part of the Hollow, Fiona is still his motivation, but now her death is what's pushing him to destroy. You could probably go deeper with what all this means, but I really want to talk about what I think are the major themes of this series: duality and rebirth. But before I talk about duality and rebirth, let's have an intermission. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so let's see if I still got it.
Is the shuttle still here? Hold on. Hold on. I don't see them. Keep going. There.
All you do is the same piece of because you have everything. Your character has everything, and they care to you. They the rule for you to make you win more often. Oh, go to sleep. Oh, it's not enough. Let's keep making him tons of state and go like. Another one.
You just got John Chungest.
Stop fucking laughing, bro.
I just got a discount from Jet Holiday. If you looking for me, I'm on the way at Jet Holiday. They gave me a little confirmation call. They said you can go.
Is it okay if I touch you?
Hello, my name is Rousey. You are a worthless, bitch-ass nigga. Your life literally is as valuable as a summer ant.
I see a pretty face smashed against the bathroom floor.
Yeah, I still got it. Duality seems to be a recurring theme throughout this show. That's why we take so much time seeing all the horrific and beautiful details of how this world works. We see the worst and best of both nature and humanity throughout this series. We see in all of its abject cruelty the absolute nightmare that is this planet's ecosystem, but we also see in all of its stunning beauty the venerable serenity of this planet's ecosystem as well. Something that I forgot to mention when I first recorded this video is how the intro echoes this theme of duality too. There's a very clear and stark contrast between the calming and tranquil piano melody playing over the frightening visuals of the destruction of the Demeter. Because of the obvious use of juxtaposition in this intro sequence, I think the intro represents the show very well. There's beauty to be found among chaos and unfamiliarity. We see what humans are capable of when they're selfish and prideful, and we also see what humans are capable of when they're passionate and cooperative. We see humans create, destroy, mourn, despise, forgive, abandon, persevere, give up. Our cast represents pretty well the full spectrum of how people can be. But what really represents the worst of humanity is actually the Hollow itself. What are the Hollow's traits exactly? It's manipulative, it's controlling, it's furious, it's jealous, it's greedy, it's gluttonous, it destroys for no reason, it's willing to devour its own kind, not to mention being the most intelligent being in its environment. All of these are human characteristics, yet we see a quadrupedal alien salamander commit these things too. I think this abstract ending with the space laser is meant to hint toward a rebirth for this creature. Gee, I wonder how I came up with that. What's significant about a rebirth for this creature is that the worst traits that humanity carries were stripped away when Kamen, who could also represent the bad part of humanity, left the wreckage of his past and embraced the opportunity of a new chance at life. He left behind the cold, corporate, industrial, artificial conformity of the Demeter and came to the warm, lively, organic, harmonious freedom of Vesta. And this happens to Kamen, but this kind of represents all of the survivors of the Demeter. They obviously have no hope of leaving, so they made Vesta their home. From the destruction of the Demeter and the allegorical destruction of humanity's worst flaws comes a new, flourishing community. So the Hollow, who represents the worst of humanity, was reborn, transforming into the small, meek, youthful creature at the same time that the survivors start a new life on Vesta. The hollow died to make way for this new hollow. You could also say that the Demeter died to make way for this new Demeter. Demeter is the Greek goddess of agriculture and harvest. How does this fit with the themes of Scavengers Reign? I don't know, ask Film Theory Lee or something. The point is, there's a clear message of new life emerging from death. That's what I felt like the purpose of the repetitive imagery of the flowers growing from the animal corpses was. That's what the purpose of Levi's death and rebirth was. That's what the purpose of the Hollow's death and rebirth was. At least that's what I interpret it as. I think this ending was intentionally cryptic and deliberate in its imagery so that nerds like you and me would discuss it online, as also stated in the AMA. Scavengers Reign is a beautifully animated, carefully crafted, suspenseful, intriguing, methodical, and strange show. We are getting a second season, and it looks just as weird and puzzling as the first. I'm really glad we're getting a second season because you really never know with these shows. Blue Eye Samurai is apparently getting a second season, thank Azathoth. I'm still holding out hope for Infinity Train like an idiot, and there you go. There are the next episodes of It Kinda Slaps.